Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lori. So good to be back. I was gone for a couple weeks. I had surgery on my gums, so I needed to take a week off of speaking and just letting my body relax and heal. So I'm back and I have a really exciting topic to share and teach about today. And it's been brewing within me for a couple of weeks now. And I keep getting the nudge by my guides to talk about this. And one of the hesitations I've been having is the challenge that it is to understand the subject that I'm talking about today and to really begin to practice it. But as my guides kept saying, it's time, it's time, it's time. So today I'm going to talk about neutrality. I'm going to talk about duality and the fields and matrices in which we are not only currently in, but navigating in between. What does it look like? How do we understand what fields and matrices mean? And how to begin to move out of judgment and attachment and soften into neutrality, which will allow us to begin to shift out of any sort of frequency or consciousness or experience reality that we're in into a little bit of a higher one, which isn't really higher, but that's how I explain it, which will allow for living in a higher consciousness, which basically allows us to separate a little bit more from these intense consciousnesses that we are experiencing currently in a third dimensional matrix. Fear, anger, rage, loss, trauma, struggle, pain, those kinds of consciousnesses that the human doesn't like to experience, that most of us are experiencing if we're honest with ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with experiencing these and feeling these. It's part of being a human. It's part of being in this field. It's part of being authentic. It's part of being honest. And it has nothing to do with where you are and how amazing you are in your vibration or in your ascension process. In fact, part of this teaching today is to allow us to stop judging ourselves, thinking and saying and believing that we are not in a high enough vibrational state. That we are not ascending in the way that we are recognizing other people ascending in, judging, right? And that what we are experiencing is wrong and I want to get out of it. So getting out of it is part of this third dimensional matrix. It's a judgment. There's something wrong with where I am, and therefore I want to shift my thoughts. I want to shift my beliefs. I want to shift my vibration and my energetic field so that I can be in a match for a better experience, for a higher vibrational consciousness to be experienced. That all makes perfect sense. I understand that. However, in trying to navigate yourself out of something you're in because you don't like it, is still being in the matrix, and it's still trying to control where you are. And so it's a very fine line between dropping into neutrality and allowing what it is in your now moment to be loved, honored, authentic, cherished, felt, and not trying to escape out of it by trying to change your thoughts and change your beliefs. However, you don't want to stay attached to it. You don't want to stay in the hamster wheel with it. You want to allow yourself to drop into a neutral space so that you can begin to move naturally in your ascension process. So I've always said ascension is very natural. There's nothing really we need to do. It's naturally happening to us. However, when we judge, when we don't want to be in something, when we are fighting against it, doing whatever we can because we're taught this is how you shift out, right? Oh, I need to change my thought. I need to change my thought. I need to change my vibration. That's control. That's ego. That is, and there's nothing wrong with ego, but ego in a third dimensional state is controlling your space as opposed to a higher self coming in and saying, chill out, relax, move into a neutral place, find neutrality. I've got you. I know where you're going. I know how this works. Can you just chill out and relax in where you are right now? So that's a brief synopsis of what I'm going to talk to you about today. So first I want to start with who we are. Just want to give you a brief reminder, okay? So the reason we are all down here in one way, shape, or form, okay, regardless of whether you're a light worker, a starseed, just a normal volunteer that wanted to experience this, underneath all of that, you knew from this consciousness that you are, which is vibrating at a much higher frequency than where you are right now, this consciousness in you understood that you were going to be dropping down into a field, which is a matrix, which is a grid system that holds a specific frequency. A grid or a matrix is almost like a cloud, and within that allows for a specific frequency to exist. We are in we have been in for quite some time, a third dimensional matrix. So any consciousness that exists, that can vibrate, I should say, in a third dimensional frequency will be in this cloud. And because it is such a low vibration, there is a million different consciousnesses that exist in it because it is so low. The opportunities expand the lower you go in frequency. The higher you move up in frequencies, the less consciousness experiences exist. So you came in knowing, with awareness, the excitement, believe it or not, of all of the consciousnesses you are going to experience. And the variety, you were going to have fear and you were going to have safety. You were going to have rage and anger, and you were going to have joy and love. You were going to be able to experience poverty and loss, and you were going to experience wealth, abundance, and having everything you want and need. You were going to experience murder and rape and all that horrible stuff, and you were going to experience oneness and family and unity and birth. These are all consciousnesses. So everything that is experienced, fear is a consciousness, rage is a consciousness, anger is a consciousness, greed is a consciousness, love is a consciousness, joy is a consciousness, abundance is a consciousness. They are just consciousnesses. They are just doing what they do, which is vibrating and allowing a physical form to come in. The physical form moves around these millions of different consciousnesses, and the physical form holds within it an electrical grid system. This electrical grid system is not only inside of you, but it resides in a 1.5 feet out around you, 360 degrees as your electrical field, energetic field. And this is how you navigate this electrical or energetic field that we are in. You're just experiencing consciousness. None of it is right or wrong. None of it is good or bad. However, when you drop into this field, because it is so low, the aspect that you have inside of the physical form, the structure of the ego, is designed to keep you safe. And because there is so much consciousness to be experienced, there are polarities, meaning there is joy and then there is anger. There's love and there's hate. There's a polarity. And in between those two, there's all these other consciousnesses to experience, all vibrating within a third dimensional matrix, within a third dimensional field. Some of these consciousnesses can shift and exist in other consciousnesses or other dimensions, and some of them cannot. Okay, it's just the way that a consciousness is vibrating. So when you drop in, and you're in your electrical grid system, you're aligned in your center, in your channel, and you're connected to your energetic field, you're beginning to navigate this, and you recognize there's duality. Okay, so duality is the polarities. Duality is judgment. So you can't be in this field as a dimensional aspect of the third dimension, a third dimensional being, which is what the physical form is. So when you dropped down as this consciousness, you are agreeing, and you agreed to participate in a third dimensional field which held all these different consciousnesses, which held polarities, which allowed for duality. So you could navigate this field, and the human aspect of you would understand, oh, this feels right, this feels wrong, this feels good, this feels bad. The reason there's duality is to keep the human safe, right? So the human's like, oh, I don't really want to feel fear over and over and over again. I'm going to shift out of that. I'd like to experience these things instead, right? This feels good, this feels bad, this is trauma, this isn't fun, this is more fun, I'm going to go do this. When you're in a third dimensional matrix, you absolutely have to have judgment. You absolutely need to understand attachment. You need to understand duality. There's polarities, and the egoic structure is what allows you to navigate this entire field of a million bazillion consciousnesses, okay? When we start waking up mentally, in the mental body, in the emotional body, in the physical body, which is what's happening, when we start to ascend physically, which is what's happening right now, we begin to awaken. We begin to open the eyes. We begin to become conscious. When you are conscious, you start to see things, you start to feel things, you start to recognize things. So all of a sudden, as we're becoming more and more conscious of things, we're recognizing, holy shit, look at what I think. Look at what I believe. Look at the hamster wheel I'm on all the time. Oh my God, I'm feeling all these emotions. Oh my God, look at how I act around this person. Holy cow, look at how I feel when I'm in that space with that person. Oh my God, I don't want to be in my job anymore. That's conscious. That's being conscious of your life. That's being conscious of your world. What happens, this is a very huge step in shifting and ascending and moving into a higher state of consciousness, is consciousness. You're being conscious, you're aware, right? Then what happens, because you're still in, let me explain really quickly, side note. Let me explain the field and matrices and how it works, okay? So I want you to visualize Earth here, okay? Here's Earth sitting here. And around the Earth is a grid. You can imagine the grid however you want it, but just imagine this, and it's an energetic grid, okay? And in that energetic grid is you can imagine it as a matrix or a field. I like to visualize it as a cloud, right? And it's currently, most of us are our physical bodies are still in a third dimensional cloud matrix field. Regardless of where your consciousness may or may not be floating back and forth in, most humans are still standing in a third dimensional field. Okay, because you still have this dense physical form. And in order to shift into a fourth and fifth dimensional field physically, your body will start to get lighter, your foods will start to shift, your skin will start to shift, right? Lots of us are starting to feel a fourth dimensional field in our physical forms. Moving into a fifth dimensional field in a physical form, your body will be completely different than what it is right now. Again, I've said this before, but you'll literally be able to look through your hand. Okay, so if you want to know if you're standing in a fifth dimensional field, pick up your hand and see if you can see through it. Or at least see, like, you can see that it's not dense anymore. If you can't do that, you're not in a fifth dimensional field yet. You will be eventually, who knows when, but you will be. Okay, we got Earth, we got a grid, inside is the matrix. Now, here's where it becomes awesome sauce. There are 12 dimensions within this grid system. So there's layers. You can imagine it as layers, okay? So just allow this to simmer inside of you, okay? Earth, matrix or cloud, holding the dimension, grid. Now, with each grid system, that there is another dimension or another layer, another matrix. So there's a third dimensional grid. There's a fourth dimensional grid. There's a fifth dimensional grid. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. There is a 12th dimensional grid that is holding all of these experiences within the earth. So technically, you could, if you were able to vibrate high enough, you could stand on the earth in your physical form and shift into a 12th dimensional vibration. Not in your etheric body. Okay, so there's a difference between experiencing higher dimensional frequencies out of the physical body through the etheric body and actually experiencing it in your physical body. I don't want to go into too much detail on that and how that works, but most of us, when we start to experience really high states of consciousness or higher dimensions, we are actually experiencing it out of our physical body and in the etheric body. Nothing wrong with that. That's just how we are able to do it. But you're capable of holding it all inside the physical form because there is a 12th dimensional matrix around us. So you are capable of holding that vibration within your physical form. It's extremely challenging and extremely difficult, but it's possible. It's also possible to hold a 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5, 4, 3, right? So we're at a third, and within each grid is a matrix. So in a fifth dimensional grid, there is a fifth dimensional matrix that's holding fifth dimensional consciousness or fifth dimensional field, and a sixth and a seventh. And this is all happening now, right? So when we talk about, I don't like going into the quantum space because it doesn't help us right now, but all of these consciousnesses or grids are happening right now. So when people talk about things like the new earth, it's already there, right? Of course it is, because the fifth dimension is already in the matrix, right? The earth is already holding herself in a fifth dimensional vibration and field. We aren't, so we can't experience that yet. We can't experience that reality yet. Dimensions pop open once your physicality and consciousness is in that vibration. So you can imagine they're all collapsed. And when your reality, when your consciousness is vibrating at the level of a fifth dimensional field or matrix inside that grid, all of a sudden, boom, this matrix opens up for you and your reality becomes that matrix. In the meantime, you're looking around and it's collapsed. You can't see it, feel it, hear it, know it. What is happening is that our consciousness is raising while our physical body is trying to catch up. And so what's happening is we're tapping into the next layering up, the next grid and matrix up, which is the fourth, right? And we're starting to tap into Christ consciousness. We're starting to tap into the heart center and the unity and oneness. We're starting to remember and recognize the higher self. We're starting to recognize and remember that we dropped down and we chose to come here. We're starting to move out of judgment, move out of attachment, move into neutrality, right? So that's a fourth dimensional, moving out of the ego in terms of it guiding us. Fourth dimension. When you move into a fifth dimension, you are no longer experiencing right, wrong, good, bad. You're no longer separate from the I am presence, which is source. You see things in such a different way that it's almost impossible to understand. I don't want to go into too much detail on this right now, but the point of me explaining the matrices is to allow you to understand that you are in this third dimensional field. There's all these others to experience eventually. And in this consciousness, this is how it works. And there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with a third dimension. It is literally a matrix that consciousnesses get to go into and stand in a physical form and experience all the many different consciousnesses. As you start to shift into different states of consciousness or dimensions, higher dimensions, and you move away from the lower ones, you don't get to experience as much. You don't get to have anger, rage, jealousy, separation. Now, all of you guys are going to say, well, thank God nobody wants to experience that. As a third dimensional human, you're saying that. from a much higher perspective as a consciousness, it is an absolute gift to be here right now. It's a gift to not only be able to really feel and experience low consciousnesses inside of physical form, but it is a gift to be able to process it. It's a gift to be able to understand it. It's a gift to be able to navigate it. And it's a gift to be able to shift out of it. All of it, every single one of you are doing right now. And what is happening is, so that's how you can understand this. If you were a 12th dimensional light being coming in and wanting to talk to the human about the experience, they would try to have you understand that there's nothing wrong with this. The only reason why you are shifting out of it is because the Earth's design, the Earth's intent is to shift into a 5D, only to allow her to get back to where she originally started, to move into a 7D. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong with this. This is just a consciousness and experience. The only reason we are now saying, I want to move, I want to get out of here, I want to shift consciousnesses, the only reason is because that is the intent and purpose of this playground. It's not because the 3D is horrible. It's not because the 3D is bad. It's not because the 3D matrix is a god-awful experience that any consciousness that comes in wants to get out of. That's not it. That's what many of us think as we awaken, because we're still in the matrix. Any judgment you have shows you that you're still in a third dimensional field. And there's nothing wrong with judgment. But what my point is what I'm trying to get all of you to start to see with your physical eyes is that there is nothing wrong with this. This is just us experiencing this field. And eventually we'll experience the next field, and then eventually the next field. And it's almost like when you're in an experience in your normal life and it's so bad, you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to get out of this. This is so horrible. My God, why did I choose to be in this thing or this, whatever it is, right? Job, relationship, living situation. There's good and bad about it, but you're like, I just want to get out of it so badly. And then you finally get out of it and you look back and you're like, that wasn't so bad. Why did I want to get out of that so quickly? There were actually some amazing things happening there. And that was an actual amazing gift for me. That's the third D. That's a third D. Okay. So holding that, trying to hold that awareness, trying to start to hold that. Listen, I understand how hard it is to be here at times. I understand depression. I understand anxiety. I understand rage, fear, anger, jealousy, loneliness. I'm a human. I experience it. I understand how hard it is right now. But I also understand the bigger picture, which is what I'm trying to tell you. Now, many of you know that I truly, truly teach and believe that ascension is a natural process. What do I mean by that? I mean that ascension is naturally happening no matter what you do. And the analogy I love to use is your hair growing, okay? So your hair naturally grows. In 6 months, your hair will be a different length than it is right now, whether it's a centimeter, a millimeter, 3 inches, or 10 inches, okay? Now, every day, you can't see it growing. Even if you stared at the mirror every hour of your day, you wouldn't see your hair growing. That's the ascension process. You can't see it happening. So if an alien were to drop down into a physical form right now, let's just say the alien came right down into my body. And he's like, oh my God, what is this? And I'm like, oh, it's hair. It's so awesome. Does it stay this length? No, it grows. Oh my God, I want to see it grow. How do I see it grow? How can I watch it grow? Oh, no, you can't watch it grow. It just grows. Well, what do you mean it just grows? Well, it just naturally grows. Well, do I have to do anything special? Do I have to say certain things? Like, do I have to take care of it a certain way? No, just let it be. Just go do all these other things. Go and have fun and play. Oh, but I really want to watch my hair grow. This is so cool. I've never seen something like this grow. It's okay. Chill out. Just go and relax and play. The alien wants to watch it. The alien wants to navigate it. The alien wants to control it. The alien wants to come in and say, oh my God, okay, 3 days from now, is it going to be any longer? Let me see. Let me get my measuring stick, right? There's a control. There is a focus. And that's what we're doing right now in the ascension process. We are thinking about it so much. We're trying to control it so much. many of us, I shouldn't say all of us, okay? If I ever say all, I don't mean all, okay? It's just what comes out. Many of us are in this space of, I want to shift out. I want to move into a higher frequency. How do I raise my vibration? How do I open my third eye? How do I clear out my pineal gland? How do I see more? How do I think? Totally natural, right? It's so natural, right? Just like the alien coming down and wanting to really understand how hair grows. I want to see it. I want to watch it. Makes sense. It doesn't happen that way though. It's a natural process that's happening. And literally one day your third eye will be closed, and 7 months down the line, all of a sudden, unbeknownst to yourself, your third eye is starting to open. I'm telling you this based on my own experience. Nothing I teach, nothing I share, nothing I bring in is from anywhere other than my own personal experience or from the guides that I'm receiving the information from. So everything I'm sharing with you is what I have experienced in my own ascension process and what I am guided to share through these beings that I channel or translate, okay? And if you think about it, let's just talk about you right now listening to this, okay? If you think back to 6 months, a year, or 2 years ago, what you're able to feel and experience right now, whether you're connecting to your higher self, whether you have a stronger intuition, whether your energetic body is starting to vibrate a little bit more, maybe you're starting to hear things, maybe you're starting to know things before they happen, maybe you're becoming more present, maybe time is becoming very strange to you, maybe you're losing your memory because you're staying more present. Whatever it is, where you are right now and where you were 2 years ago or a year or 6 months is probably different. And if I were to say to you, what did you do to get there? Many of you would probably say, not much. I just was conscious of what was going on. I was conscious and focused on my realities. I was conscious and focused on what I was doing, what was happening. Many of you would say, I have no freaking idea. I didn't do anything. It just happened. Exactly. Exactly. Okay? So, ascension happens naturally, and we are becoming more conscious. And here is where neutrality and duality become really important. As we are experiencing more present moment states, which means that many of us are starting to become conscious and aware of everything we're experiencing almost hour by hour, right? It's almost, and this is why so many of us are going crazy, because we can't. You are living in a place that I like to call the choice of no choice now. Once you wake up and once your eyes are open, you can't shut them anymore. Many of us have been able to shut them for quite some time, me being one of those. I shut my eyes for years. From the age of 13 to 39, I would open my eyes and shut them, open my eyes and shut them. And now I find myself in this place that I love to call the choice of no choice, which is you don't have a choice anymore. The eyes are open. We don't have time, right? This is what we're here to experience and feel and do. So you're now like, oh my God, I'm feeling so much. Oh my God, I'm recognizing so much. I think I'm crazy because I woke up feeling one way and I'm going to bed feeling another. And in the middle, there was all these other experiences because you're present and you're conscious. What happens is we are living in duality. So we judge the experience. We judge the emotions, we judge the thoughts, and we judge the feelings. What's also happening is we have amazing, beautiful teachers that are trying to assist us out of where we are because they love us so much. All these beautiful teachers love us so much. They don't want us to be in pain. They don't want us to be in a lower vibration. They don't want us to experience what we're experiencing. However, that's duality. That's duality. A teacher that is trying to move you out of one space and into another space so that you can feel better or have a better experience is in duality. Nothing wrong with duality. That's part of this matrix we're in. And there's nothing wrong with this matrix. But what I'm trying to get all of us to begin to start to focus on or to look at is duality, is judgments. I don't like this. I want to get out of it. I don't like this feeling of sadness and anger that I'm feeling. I don't like the feeling of being stuck. I don't like it. Okay, you don't have to like it, but it's your reality. It's your now moment. And what we do as humans when we are in duality is we want to change it. We want to grab it, we want to throw it away, and we want to experience something else. And we're taught all these ways in which we can do that. Shifting our thoughts, shifting our vibration, which I don't even know how you do that, right? I mean, when people say, how do I raise my frequency? It's kind of like, well, I mean, you just stay present and you accept and live in your now moment and you love every aspect of yourself. Can you start there? So people are teaching frequency shifting, thought process, shifting your thoughts, moving out of thoughts into different thoughts, choosing what you want your reality to be and walking into that. And it all is in a dualistic matrix still, because you're saying that something isn't right or good, and so I want to move into something that is better. Okay, a lot of it is because people are experiencing these other realities and these other frequencies and these other spaces, and we're like, hold up, I want that. Why would I want to be feeling anger, rage, and fear when somebody's telling me how awesome it is over in this other matrix? Here I am. I'd like to be over here, please. Right? Now remember, you guys, every physical body is here. Maybe there's not every. I'm catching myself. Not every body is in the physical 3D. There are bodies in a 4D, right? There are physical forms that have shifted into the 4D. But the majority of us are still over here. And there's nothing wrong with this. My God, it's being human. It's like, let me devour it. And because I know that at some point, I'm not going to be here anymore. I'm actually going to be over here in a 4D matrix. So why not devour the heck out of this if I know that naturally I'm going to be over here? Just like no matter what I do, my hair is going to grow. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how often I look at it. It doesn't matter any of that. I know that in 7 months, my hair will be at a different whatever. Even those of you that are saying right now, well, my hair never grows. I guarantee you it grows a tiny, tiny, tiny piece. Maybe not your hair on your head, the hair on your legs, the hair on your underarms, the hair on your chest. Your hair grows. Okay. So there's people that are bald and like, well, my hair doesn't grow. Okay. Maybe your hair doesn't grow on your head, but your hair grows in other places. Hair naturally grows. Okay. So you move from a 3D to a 4D naturally. I don't have to worry about it. The only thing I have to worry about is staying conscious. And as I stay conscious, it becomes uncomfortable because then I'm feeling a lot, I'm seeing a lot, I'm watching a lot, I'm noticing a lot. It's like, Jesus, what the hell is this that I am in? How do I get out of it? You'll know that you're consciously becoming more conscious by how you want to get out of it. Right? I want to get the heck out of that. People are telling me how great it is to be in the heart center. I'd like to be in the heart center. Now, here's the piece about all of this. Once people start telling us how to do this, then we start getting upset with ourselves because we're not doing it. We're not able to. I can't do it. I can't open my pineal gland. I can't connect to my higher self. I can't, I can't see with my third eye. We start getting upset because we can't do certain things, which is being in duality, which is making something right or wrong, and which is holding yourself in that space. When we don't like something and we want to shift out of it, we're in a hamster wheel. Okay? So we're in a hamster wheel of, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I want to change, I want to change, I want to change my thoughts, I want to change my thoughts, I want to change my thoughts. Now here's where neutrality comes in, because it is a very fine line, you guys, between saying, screw it, I'm just going to be in depression. Screw it, I'm just going to be mad. Screw it, I'm just going to be in anger. Well, Lori said to just be, so I'm just going to feel all this horrible stuff. No, there's a very important fine line. When you are experiencing things that you don't like to feel, when you are thinking things you don't like to think, when you are believing things you don't want to believe, first of all, you feel it, you experience it, you see it, you acknowledge it, you recognize it, you love it, you honor it. It's who you are. And how dare you to not honor who you are and what you're experiencing and clearing out. It's your experiences of a human being. And there's nothing wrong with it. You did nothing wrong to experience those things. You did nothing wrong to feel those thoughts, to be believing those things. You just lived a third dimensional matrix life. That's all you did. And what's happening now is you are recognizing what you've been doing and it's moving out of you. And we're all on different pages, right? So there's nothing wrong with it. It just is. You still have to see it. You still have to feel it. You still have to experience it. But you don't want to be in the hamster wheel. The hamster wheel is, I don't like this, 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 this is pain, this is annoying, this is ugly, this is gross, I don't like this, I don't like this, I want to be somewhere else, I want to be somewhere else, I want to try to shift, I want to try to shift, I want to raise my vibration, I want to raise my vibration, I want to change my thoughts, I want to change my beliefs. How do I do this? How do I do this? That's being in the hamster wheel. This is how you get out of the hamster wheel and move into neutrality. You recognize the anger you're feeling, or you recognize the depression you're feeling. You recognize how you feel stuck. And you see it from a perspective of, wow, I'm feeling stuck. I'm feeling insecure. I'm feeling like I'm not going anywhere. Okay, that's my experience. That's my now moment. That's my reality. I'm going to soften into this a little bit more. I'm going to step back and I'm going to drop into neutrality. Neutrality is recognizing and remembering and seeing everything, every consciousness. Remember, every experience is a consciousness. Every thought is a consciousness, belief is a consciousness, and emotion is a consciousness. When you drop into, soften into, and drop down into neutrality, you begin to recognize that all you're doing is experiencing a consciousness. All you're doing is experiencing and filtering a consciousness. Every consciousness is just doing what it was designed to do as that energy. Fear is just being fear. Rage is just being rage. Jealousy is just being jealousy. Love, joy, peace, those are all consciousnesses that are just being their consciousness. What happens when you are in this matrix, which is called a 3D matrix, which is very, very dense, is your physical form holds the energetic grid that pulls these consciousnesses in and allows you to experience them, and you experience them through duality and an egoic structure that says, this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, I like this, I don't like this, I want more of this, I want more of that. And we come into judgment, we come into attachments, desires. Nothing wrong with these, part of this matrix we're in. Neutrality says it just is. Neutrality doesn't label it. Neutrality allows you to start to watch and say, it just is. I don't like it. I know you don't like it. It's okay. It just is. When you start to drop into neutrality, first of all, you're not bypassing your experience. You're not bypassing your human experience. When you want to try to shift your vibration because you don't like where you are, you're bypassing your experience. When you're trying to do anything where your physical form isn't vibrating there yet, you're trying to bypass. You're trying to shift faster than and move out of something that you're not ready for yet. And if you remember that everything happens naturally, you will get there. When people are talking about the pineal gland and the third eye and eating vegan, foods that don't breathe, that don't have any sort of being in them, any animal stuff, any things like that, if you're not there yet, remember, it's okay you're not there. Don't judge it. You will eventually move to this space where you are watching other people being. You are here. When you drop into neutrality, you slowly begin to say, it just is. However you feel it. You honor it, you acknowledge it, you see it. You don't attach to it. Okay, so attaching to it means I don't like it and I don't want to feel it. How do I get it out of me? I don't like it. I don't want to feel it. How do I get it out of me? This is by far the hardest part of ascension. This is the hardest part of physically moving consciousnesses, you guys. This is the hardest part. The hardest part is having to sit in it and having to try to learn how to be in a neutral place with it. When you are anchored into a fourth dimensional matrix, you live in neutrality. So if you want to know if you're in a fourth dimensional matrix, and forget about fifth dimension, you've nailed neutrality. You're not even thinking neutrality. It's so natural in a fifth dimensional matrix. So if you've anchored yourself down into a fourth dimensional matrix, you are living your entire life, every moment, every day in neutrality, which means that you're not judging anyone. You're not judging any experience. This is extremely challenging. I've been trying to drop into neutrality literally I'm conscious of dropping into neutrality as often as I can in every moment. And I'm just starting with myself. Forget about my friends and family. I mean, please. And forget about the world. Okay? I'm just trying to drop into neutrality in my own experiences, which is hard enough. So shifting you guys into higher states of consciousness is no walk in the park. You can't just change your thoughts. You can't just all of a sudden find yourself in non-judgment. Maybe there are people that can if they go and meditate for hours and hours and hours on end, but most of us don't have time to do that, right? We have to live in this matrix we're in. We have to physically accept, live, love, honor, and learn how to navigate this bridge we're navigating. One of the ways they want me to remind us of how to start to navigate this more deeply is to recognize duality, to recognize what we've been in, and to recognize how to move into neutrality. Now again, neutrality is when I'm experiencing jealousy. I don't like it, but I honor what I'm feeling. I recognize that I'm judging it by saying I don't like it. And then I pull myself out, soften into and kind of deepen into the human experience, and I say jealousy is just a consciousness. I'm just experiencing something. I'm actually just filtering a human experience. This is just me being human in this matrix. Okay, I really don't like it. That's okay. What I'm not going to do is try to navigate my way out of it. Because here's the freaking power of neutrality. And again, I'm only talking about my own experiences. The power of neutrality is when you step out, soften in, deepen into the human experience, whatever it is that you don't like, whatever it is you're going through that you don't want to feel, whatever it is that the thoughts and beliefs that you are disliking and thinking that you have to shift by believing something different that you don't really believe because you think you have to shift your consciousness to that other vibration. Neutrality is a way of stepping out, dropping in, allowing it to be, and then unbeknownst to yourself, it shifts. And when it shifts out, you're shifted into a different space. All of a sudden, you can hold something that you didn't hold before. All of a sudden, you're no longer feeling insecurity in these moments. All of a sudden, what you've been trying so hard to get out of is gone. How did that happen? How did I just move out of that? What just happened? Now, when you are manifesting or intending new realities, which is part of awakening and part of being conscious, how do you do that by being neutral, right? Because again, manifesting and intending in a third dimensional matrix is touchy. You don't want to be attached to the reality or intention or manifestation you're creating. The way you are not attached to it is you fall into neutrality. So you are sitting in a neutral place saying, okay, this is the consciousness I'm creating. A new job is a consciousness. and I'm going to hold that consciousness here. The consciousness that I'm in right now is a job I don't like. I don't like is duality. Because I'm in this matrix, I'm just going to acknowledge that I have a dislike for this job. I'm not attaching to the dislike. I'm honoring what I'm feeling. I don't like it, but I'm not going to attach to the dislike, meaning I'm not going to buy into it. I'm not going to feed into it. I'm not going to get into the hamster wheel of, I hate this job, I hate this job, I hate this job. When I drop into neutrality, I look at it as a consciousness. Wow, I am experiencing a job that I dislike. I am holding another consciousness that I would like to move into. I'm holding a consciousness that would bring me more peace and more joy, right? But I'm not going to attach to it as if it is the all be everything that I absolutely need. It's a consciousness and a reality. There's no attachment to it. There's no good or bad about it. It just is the next thing I want to experience. So just like you're not holding anything with the bad job, you're not holding anything with this. What you're doing is you're holding a consciousness that you are looking and choosing to move into. But you aren't looking at where you are as a bad, negative thing, and all you need to do is just get out of this in order to be happy. You just need to get out of this, get out of this. I got to get out of this. I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. How am I going to get out of this? What do I need to do next? What are the steps? How do I manifest this? How do I shift my vibration? How do I... That's the hamster wheel. Do you see? The hamster wheel. The hamster wheel is this desire and this need to control. It's the ego. When you drop into neutrality, your higher self is in control. And your higher self knows exactly where you're going. Your higher self has all of this under control. And your higher self knows how to get you to the next highest aspect of you. Your higher self knows how to get you here. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to worry about how your hair grows, because it naturally grows. You don't need to worry about how you're going to get here. Your job is to fall into neutrality and say, I'm not going to try to control anything. I'm going to be present with where I am. I'm going to accept where I am. I'm not going to judge it as much as I can. This is a constant practice. This is not easy, and this is a practice, okay? But it becomes a little bit more easy and a little bit more easy as we begin to do it. And what we start to realize is this thing that we're intending, this new reality or timeline that you want to move into, becomes easier when you drop into neutrality. Because when you drop into neutrality, neither is right or wrong. It's just the next thing you want to bring into your space. You're not doing it, your higher self is, regardless of whether you feel like you're connected or not, regardless of whether you believe you're connected to your higher self or not. See, here's what happens also with the human. They'll hear this thing that I just said, which is drop into neutrality, let your higher self take over. And then what the human says is, I can't hear my higher self. I don't know my higher self. I'm not connected to my higher self. I'm not aligned with there's the hamster wheel. You're naturally being guided by your higher self. All you have to do is get conscious of what you're focusing on, which is the negative, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job. That's being in the hamster wheel of duality. I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job. Drop into neutrality, which is none of it matters. It just is. It's a consciousness I'm experiencing in this matrix. Just practice dropping into neutrality. Visualize yourself literally physically dropping into neutrality where your higher self will hold you. And then you're telling your higher self, here's what I'm creating next. This is actually where I would love to be next. Okay, great. I'm not going to hold this. I'm not going to be responsible for this. I'm not going to obsess over this. I'm just going to know that this is a consciousness that I am holding and that I am moving there. If I try to bring myself out of it on my own by trying to shift my vibration, by trying to shift my thoughts, by trying to raise then there's so much focus in this hamster wheel of trying to get myself here. Right? There's so much energy being worked in trying to do this. All you have to do is drop into neutrality. You're letting go of control. You're breathing. You're relaxing. Surrendering. It's not easy. None of this feels easy in the beginning for a human because the human is not programmed to do this. The third dimensional human is programmed to be proactive, to be in a state of constant creation or constant being in charge. The third dimensional human is always, there's constant gratification, wanting to shift out of anything that isn't comfortable, anything that they don't like, right? It's the ego. The ego is trying to keep you safe. It's trying to keep you contained. It's trying to keep you comfy, right? And anything you don't like, it's going to do its best to get you out of. The more conscious we become, the more we recognize how unhappy we are. Once we recognize how unhappy we are, we then step into this place of, wow, it's just a consciousness I've been experiencing, because I'm a being vibrating in a physical form that is standing in a third dimensional matrix, which allows me to experience all these different consciousnesses. What a gift. The consciousness I'm experiencing with this job, not so great, don't like it, but it just is right now. Okay, step into neutrality, drop down. Here I am in neutrality. There's nothing I have to do, because I remember that Lori said my higher self is in control, even if I can't hear it. I don't have to hear it. I don't have to feel it or know it. I have to believe it to be true. And then Lori said that I can remember to intend, what's next? What's this manifestation here? What's this reality I want to move into? I want another job that feels like this and this and this. You can be as detailed as you want. That's what I want. Okay. That just is a consciousness that I'd like to step into. This is a consciousness that I'm experiencing that I don't like. There's a little bit of duality in there, right? Good and bad, right and wrong. I want this, I don't want that. That's duality. Be able to be able to see that. But when you drop into a neutral place where really none of it matters, because you are just who you are as a human in a third dimensional matrix, but you are a creator being, so you don't necessarily want to stay with where you're at, right? If it is creating an energetic vibration that you're not happy with. So you want to move yourself into an energetic exchange and vibration that you are more expansive in, right? So you begin to create that. When you're living in a fifth dimensional matrix over here, there's no duality. There's no good or bad, right or wrong. It's just a constant state of presence and a constant state of, what do I want to experience next? What do I want to experience next? What do I want to experience next? Except that what it's experiencing are consciousnesses that are held in a higher vibration. So it's not so dark. It's not so negative. So what you're doing in the third dimension is the same thing. What do I want to experience next? What do I want to experience next? You've already been doing that unconsciously. Very unconsciously. You just haven't realized it. Now you're starting to do it consciously. And as you start to do it consciously, you want to make sure you're not judging. You want to be in a neutral place. You want to let go of control. You want to stop judging yourself. How often do we judge ourselves? How often do we judge our experiences? So I just want to be really clear on something. I am not advocating for dwelling in or sitting in what you're experiencing and going through, as if that's what's going to shift you. What I am saying is you are aware, conscious, experiencing and feeling what you're going through. You're honest about it. You're authentic and real about your experience. What I am saying is you allow yourself to listen to the way you are in duality with it. It's bad, it's good, I like it, I don't like it, I don't want to be in this, I want out of this. What I am saying is watch how you're trying to control it. Watch how you're trying to force and do whatever you can to get out of it. Okay? And then what I'm saying is, as you are in it, and you are not in the hamster wheel, which is, I hate this, 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 I want out, I want out, I want out, what can I do, what can I do, what can I do, what can I do, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. What I'm saying is, you step into neutrality. You drop back, you drop down, you soften in, and you see it in the TV screen, and you say, it is a consciousness that I'm experiencing as a third dimensional physical form, navigating it through my energetic and electric field like I have been designed to do. I am becoming conscious and aware of this so that I can move into higher states of consciousness naturally through the direction and guidance of my higher self. I'm not in charge. I'm not going to be stuck here forever. I know this is a natural process. Let me get out of my way. Let me begin to learn how to trust and surrender, as uncomfortable as that feels. Because what's happening right now for so many humans is they're either bypassing and pretending they're in these higher states, which they're not, because really they turn their social media sites off, right? And then they are honest with themselves and they fall into the third dimensional matrix, which is where they've always been. And they're feeling all the normal things that everyone else is feeling, you know, but they're bypassing and saying, oh my God, this is happening and this is happening and all these beautiful, amazing things are happening. When your physical form is in a third dimension, which many, most of us are, you can't escape this matrix until your physical body is anchored into the next matrix. And if you're anchored into a fourth dimensional matrix, you will be feeling and experiencing neutrality 24/7. So it's a very good gauge if a human is actually anchored into the dimension they're saying they're anchored into. If that human is not judging, is not attached, and is living in neutrality, they're there. We're all getting there. We're all going to be there. Okay? We're all going to be there. Now, don't listen to this video and say, holy shit, how do I do this? What do I do? Oh my God, I'm judging. Don't do that, because that is, or do it, it's okay. But that is the pattern that the human does, right? That's our pattern. So be aware of that pattern that we do of, oh my God, now I got to try to do this, right? Neutrality is, you have to bring awareness all the time to, am I in neutrality? Oh my God, look at how much I judge. You guys, I've been doing this for about 3 or 4 weeks now. And it's a doozy, because you really start to look at how often you judge and how often you want out of something to be in something better. But what I can say is that when I step into neutrality and when I drop in and breathe and relax and surrender, things are shifting a lot faster. I mean, things always shift pretty fast for me just because I understand how the process works. But when I'm experiencing things I really don't like, and I'm judging that by not liking it, I start to look through the eyes of, or the lens of neutrality. And it's like, oh my God, I'm not attached to this. Holy shit. I'm recognizing this whole thing now. I'm really starting to see this for what it is. And everything just is just doing what it's designed to do perfectly. Every consciousness, every being, every action is doing what it's designed to do perfectly, beautifully, lovingly, or not lovingly, in this matrix that we have designed ourselves to be in. And no matter what, we are shifting into this fourth dimensional matrix only to shift into the fifth. We're not skipping a fourth. It's not happening as much as we want to. We're not shifting into this fifth place without moving into the fourth first. That's how consciousness naturally moves. It's a natural process. And so you have to anchor in this fourth dimensional matrix and grid system first, which we won't stay in for too long. It's like a holding ground, a platform for us to kind of navigate and hold down and kind of anchor in how to be, in order for us to then drop straight into a fifth dimensional matrix. So the fourth dimensional matrix can be seen as sort of like a platform that we won't be in for very long, but that's going to allow us to anchor in our beingness of how to be, how to actually live. How do we live these ways? How do we live in a present moment state? How do we live with non-attachment? How do we live without the ego driving all of our actions so the higher self is in charge? How do we live in a state of surrender and flow? How do we live in unity consciousness, meaning that we remember and recognize that we all are from the same source? That allows and requires us to be non-judgmental, non-attached, right? How do we start to move into what so many of us are calling that heart space, which is really where an energetic vibration resides that allows you to connect to a consciousness that holds the consciousness of all other consciousnesses. that have ever existed, ever will exist, and have existed in the past, right? And the existing right now. So it's a consciousness that you can connect to all of it, everything. It's also a space where you start to connect to the light of who you are, the light that came down into physical form, the light, the consciousness that you are, that is held in your etheric body. A lot of the reason why people call it the Christ consciousness is because Jesus Christ came in and was embodying his light physically. He was actually living the Christ light that he was, and he was attached and connected to that light. And a way in which you can move into that space is beginning to focus in on that energetic center that will kind of easily give you like a what's it called, like a quick way, like a shortcut to that consciousness. Christ consciousness is the consciousness of the light of who you are. That's all it is. The human has called it Christ consciousness for the past 3,000 or 4,000 years because Jesus Christ was standing on the earth and being an example of a physical form holding that Christ consciousness, meaning living and breathing that consciousness, the consciousness he dropped in as, the light that he dropped in as, he was connected to. We all are connected to the light that we dropped in as. We're all connected to that consciousness. We just have to remember. We just have to start to open up and feel it. We just have to begin, and that requires coming into the body. So that's being in a fourth dimensional, that's grounded down into and anchoring into a fourth dimensional field. So, you know, if I were to really start to detail what it means to be anchored into a fourth dimensional consciousness and had a checklist, you know, you'd be able to decipher whether you yourself are in that field dimension or not. What we're doing is that we are tapping. Remember, there's all these, there's opportunities. There's a 12th dimensional grid around us, which means there's a 12th dimensional frequency around us, which means there's a 12th dimensional matrix, and an 11, and a 10, and a 9, and an 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. 3. And so you have access as a being, as a consciousness, as an energy to shift and start to experience the fourth and fifth because they're the closest to us. So that's what our consciousness has been doing. Our consciousness has been tapping into the fourth, and then our consciousness taps into the fifth, but our physical form is in the third. So what happens? Boop! We come back in and we're like, oh shit, we're still in all this matrix stuff. And so then you believe that you can't anchor into this yet because you're still physically in this form, right? You're like, well, why am I still seeing all this horrific stuff? Why am I still thinking this? What's going to eventually happen is as you anchor down into the fourth dimension, as your consciousness anchors down, your physical form will eventually follow. But in the meantime, you will be walking around in neutrality. You'll be walking around in this third dimensional matrix connected to the light, your Christ consciousness. You will be in a present moment state. So you'll be able to perfect these ways of being in a fourth dimensional field through experiencing and practicing them in a third dimensional matrix, which is extremely challenging. Because in a fourth dimensional matrix, you won't necessarily be experiencing as much of this duality consciousness. I don't want to go into too much detail on like the physics of how this all works, but basically that's the elementary version of that, because eventually your physical form will shift into it, and then you'll be standing and anchoring into the fourth dimensional field, and then you actually won't even be experiencing rage and anger and fear and all these things that you experience, and yet you'll also still be in a matrix that is in the third dimension, because as you shift, right, it's still all existing at the same time. And as you pop into a fourth dimensional matrix, your reality will be very different. And yet for those of us in a third dimensional reality, we'll be able to look at you because you'll still be here, right? You'll still be standing in what we see as our third dimensional matrix, but you'll be experiencing your reality from a fourth dimensional matrix. It's a little bit confusing. So I don't want to go. I don't want to go too much into that. But anyway, an hour and 4 minutes. Not bad, not bad. Keeps getting longer and longer. Anyways, you guys, I'm going to end it with that. Duality to neutrality, this whole great, amazing thing. A couple things I wanted to share if you're still here at the end. I don't know how many people actually listen it to the very end, but two things. I have another masterclass coming up, or a 2-hour masterclass on March 29th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific, California, West Coast of the United States. And it's $29 again. It's recorded. So if you can't listen live, you'll get the recording. I think the recording last time was a little bit off. The volume was off of the actual thing, and I figured out why that happened, or Zoom figured out why that happened. So that won't happen this time. And the class is going to be on manifestation and vibration, and how do we manifest and intend this reality by being in the reality that we're in, and how do we get honest and authentic about it, and how do you hold this, how do you walk into this, and how do you know, how do you have that feeling of knowingness, which is key. Knowing that this is happening, knowing that you're moving here. Knowingness is key to manifestation. And again, I'm teaching based on my own experience. I'm teaching based on what has worked for me. I'm teaching based on how I manifest, how I intend. Everything in my life, I intend consciously. Everything in my life that I ask for, I receive. Everything. Everything. As long as I believe it. As long as I believe it. Now, there are many things that I want that I don't believe yet in that 100% knowingness, and so it hasn't popped into my reality. But anything I want that I 100% know I deserve and can have, I walk into. It's brought to me. So I'm going to share and teach on all of that. The link is down below. It's also on my website at loriladd.com, but you can find the link straight down below. And then the second thing that I'm super excited about is, starting in April, I'm going to start doing bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks, live Q&As on YouTube. So I'm gonna have a specific day and a specific time for each month. So it'll be the same time every month. Maybe I'll switch it around. But it's going to be twice a month for around an hour, live. So basically, if you're subscribing to my channel right now, you'll get an alert that I'm going live, or that I am live. And I will be posting about it as well, on my Instagram and Facebook page. So if you're not following me on Instagram or Facebook, go and follow me on Instagram and Facebook, because then you'll get the notifications days in advance. I'll also have the schedule up on my YouTube on my website starting in April, of when I'll be live for each month, so you can go and see and mark it. But if you're subscribing, if you have subscribed to my channel, you'll get the notification right away. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, and then you'll get the notification as soon as I go live, and then you can jump on, and we'll all be live. And there's a panel to the right hand side that you can ask your questions, and I'm super excited about it, because I want to be able to engage with you guys more in a more natural way. I want to be back and forth. I want to talk, and I want to teach. I want to answer questions, because I read so many of the comments, and there's so many questions in there, and the questions are so juicy, and they require such a huge amount of attention and answering. So that's what I'm doing. I'm really excited. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. If this video resonated with you, like it below. If you know anyone that would really, really benefit from hearing this message, please pass the video along. It can be hard for people to kind of find these videos sometimes. And so word of mouth is always such a beautiful, fabulous, amazing way for us to pass along this information and to assist other humans that are going through this. None of us have done this before. Don't forget, none of us have done this before. So we're all just sort of like, what the freak are we doing, and how do we do it? And, you know, one of my biggest messages is that you're not doing it wrong. You're not wrong. You're not bad. You're not slow. You're not confused. You're not a screw up. None of that's true. You're in this matrix, and you're doing the best you possibly freaking can to understand it as you wake up. And the frustrating part for so many of us is that we can't close our eyes anymore. We're awake. We're open to this. This sucks. There's a lot of people that are like, this sucks, this sucks. Yeah, Guess what? It does. But I promise you that as you awaken more and more, as your eyes stay open, as you clear and clear and clear, as you start to practice this and learn this, right, and navigate this with all of us, you start to move. You already are. Most of you already are, right? You just are. And if you've been listening to me for a while, you probably are starting to watch yourself naturally shift. We just aren't conscious of it. We're not keeping track like a scientist, right? We're just not keeping track in the same way. You're not doing this alone. We're all doing this. We're all struggling on days. We are all doing our best on days that we don't feel so great. You know, we're all moving up this hill sometimes, and there is nothing wrong with being honest about that. There's nothing wrong with me saying I am in an exhausted state and I feel unaligned, unattached, and sad today. I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to shift my thoughts. I'm not going to try to move into a higher vibration because I'm in that space. What I'm going to do is step into neutrality and say, I'm going to honor this. I'm going to allow this consciousness to be. I'm going to do my damnedest to try to love myself through this. And I'm going to know that in this neutral place of just watching this consciousness be in me, that I am moving out of it and into something else very quickly by just allowing it to be, by sitting in neutrality and allowing it to just be. As uncomfortable as it may be. The fear, because I felt this the other night. Just by the way, P.S., I feel there are times where I will have a day or half a day where I am completely unattached, meaning I don't feel aligned. I don't feel connected to my work. I look at my work and I'm like, wait, do I work? Do I do that work? Do I connect to star beings? Like, do I channel light beings? Hold on a second. Is that like, am I writing a book? I'm literally that detached from that aspect of me. And I don't sit and try to figure it out. I don't fight it. I don't try to shift out of it. I do not try to shift out of it. What I do start to feel is, holy shit, what if I'm like this forever, right? And then I remember I'm not like this forever because I know that the next day something else will happen. Or 3 days down the road, something will shift. Sorry, my phone rang. Anyways, energy shifts. Energy doesn't stay. It just doesn't stay, right? Some experiences may stay longer than others, but then I invite you to look at how you're allowing yourself to experience it. So what I did that night when I was having that moment is I said, okay, I'm going to just watch it and I'm going to feel it and I'm going to be in it and I'm going to know that it just is. It's just me experiencing the consciousness of feeling unattached, unaligned. God knows who that person is over there that does that work. And I'm just going to be in it. It doesn't mean I'm bad. It doesn't mean I'm in a lower vibration. It doesn't mean that I'm never going to ascend. It doesn't mean any of those things. It doesn't mean my pineal gland is closed or opened or any of that. It doesn't mean that I'm not connected to my, none of that. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. All that matters is that I'm present with what I'm experiencing. I'm doing my best to love it. And no matter what, you guys, you're moving over here. You're moving over here. I could go on and on. I'm going to stop. Okay. I can't wait for Q&A in April. I'm so excited to connect with you guys live. It's going to be so much fun. Most likely it'll be about an hour and a half to 2 hours. But anyway, subscribe to my channel if you haven't so that you can get the information. Go onto my website so that you can get the dates and the times. Follow me on social media, Facebook and Instagram to get the dates and times. And if you're interested in the masterclass, I'm really excited to teach about this. It's how I live my life. And so I'll just be teaching how I live this manifestation and intention process. The link is down below. Know that I love you guys, that you are loved, you are held, you are guided, you are protected, no matter what you think, feel, or hear about that, whatever you're experiencing, you are being held. You all have beings of light, angels, masters, whatever it is that you know to be your truth, surrounding you, loving you, and holding you through this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for not only being on this video with me, but being on the earth plane at this time. Thank you for being gentle with yourself. Thank you for trying to love yourself through this. And I will see you next YouTube. Love you guys. Bye.